Morning, James.
Morning. Sorry about being late, guys.
Hey up here.
I don't have staff like you guys, I'm
Oh,
afraid.
here we go. Here we go.
So that's the right excuse.
Um,
Here we go. Get a little baby violin out.
we're um we're just discussing how I'm getting like
Should we start this again? It's like because you don't want to
if
go into the story and then have to do it again.
if you can
So
bear to hear it again, yeah. So
yeah.
James, we're just discussing uh another like finance company wanting to reject a car to me.
Oh no.
Well, it's a bit beyond that
Oh
actually.
no.
Um, right. The
Well,
long
just
story
like
short
getting
was,
finance deal agreed as well.
hey,
I don't do finance, but I've got a finance deal possibly happening
oh,
today. This is
cancel
going to
it
put me off it
immediately.
big time. Yeah.
Yeah, so we sold a Grand C-Max on 65,000 miles in on the when was it? Back in December for 6,995. We took his part exchange Grand C-Max in for 2,800 quid, um, which was his deposit. And yeah, his car, he'd had everything done to it. He'd had the cam belt done twice. He'd replaced all the brakes, even though he didn't seem to need to. He'd replaced all the tires recently. He'd done the clutch and flywheel, and he'd spent loads on it. Within the last year or so, he spent a few grand on it. We're like, bloody hell, why are you part exchanging it? Your car seems probably better than ours is. You're trying to buy. We wanted to buy it because it was, to be fair, it was the same year. They're both 14s, and maybe his was
The
on
alarm
high
bells not
mileage.
start ringing.
Huh? Well,
The
they should have
alarm
done.
bells not start
I
ringing.
mean, for me, again, this is why there's a bit of an issue with me taking a step away from sales because I can't tolerate people anymore.
Mm.
But it also means that I'm not there for my radar to be like best bills. Some of the best deals are the ones you don't do. So
Yeah.
this guy's clearly an idiot. So let's just leave it.
And your
But
salesman wants the commission as well. So
That's the
yeah, and
trouble. If you've got any commission structure is going to motivate people to do the wrong things for the business as a general rule, I find from years in managing sales teams. Anytime, yeah, that's what I found with any commission structure was they would, you know, they find a way of getting sales in the easiest, and they're just desperate to hit the number you give them, and that's when they make poor decisions, isn't it?
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Because if you were sat in front of it, you would have thought you would have been two steps ahead. You would have thought,
yeah.
right,
I certainly
am I
would have
going to
given a
have
lot
this
of
man in
money
my
and
life?
whatever.
Am I
But
going to have him
yeah,
in my life? So you probably would have tried to put him off it.
probably. But the long story short is that he took it away. Like he came back to us. Where was he based? Oh, he was in Nottingham, so he's not local to us. Oh no, that's the finance company. Where was he? Oh bloody hell, Matchin, wherever that is, CF postcode. So I don't know, Wales or something. Anyway, and he was like, "Oh, something wrong with the brakes. They're squeaking or whatever it was." Jason had dealt with him, and we ended up. Take it to a garage. He took it to a garage. We gave him a couple hundred quid, few hundred quid, whatever, to fix it. And then he went away. That was happy with that. And then something else came up, and it was, I don't know, maybe like a window. I don't know, something else. We paid him for something else again, and then he came back saying, "Oh, now the clutch is this and that," and basically he wanted the clutch done. And we're like, this is when I sort of overheard all this. I was like, "Don't you dare give him another penny. That has got to come back to us. We're not just constantly sending money to this guy. He was giving us receipts out of a receipt book from his mate stamped up that could have been a stamp he had himself."
Yeah.
So I said, it needs to come back to us. It did. We checked it out. Clutch was perfectly fine. Certainly not slipping or anything like that. So off he went again. Oh, fair enough. Then he said, "Oh no, it is slipping and whatever." And I was like, "Oh, if it's got worse, take it to another garage, check it out." He did. They said it was fine. And then he's like, "Oh well, I'm going to have to get this clutch done. I'm really disappointed you won't help out and blah 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 because I'm just worried it's going to go." There's nothing wrong with it, but the guy's clearly
When
a bit
your
like
garage
OCD.
and an
Yeah,
independent garage both said the clutch was okay.
yeah. So he went and had it done, obviously, probably through the same guy who's been doing his little tear out receipt books. And then that was that. And then, because this was whatever, 8 months ago now, then we heard from the finance company first response, and they're like, "Oh, he's raised a complaint, blah, blah, blah." And we're all just like rolling about the place, laughing. Like, this guy's just a fantasist. So he's obviously, I don't know if he's a bit unwell or what, but, here's the whatever. And I said, but fine, whatever. If he's raised a complaint, tell him to get an independent report, and we'll fix it if we have to. If there's something wrong, And they came back with this
Independent report from his mate.
Yeah, tear out thing. They're like, oh, he's provided this report, and it was ball joint, whatever. It was there's damage to the bell housing. It's clearly got cut marks in it from an angle grinder or something. And we're like, what the hell? Like, we were under that car. We did our PDI and all that sort of stuff. There was nothing wrong with it. We just MOT'd it, and it was perfectly fine. Like, we don't remember any of that. That's all the mechanics. Do you remember any damage to it? No. And then we're like, he had the clutch done. He had the clutch done by his mate. So his mate's cut the bolts off the gearbox, put damage in it, and now he's coming back to us saying, "Oh, this car's damaged."
Again, though, devil's advocate, even if there were marks in a bell housing isn't a functional part of the vehicle. It is just a cover for, you're not going to have a problem with the car because there's grinder marks in the bell housing.
They were like, "Oh yeah, the gearbox must have been out." It's like, well, I'm not surprised. It's 10 years old.
And
Anyway, so we were like, "Oh, this guy, whatever," and we went away and thought that would be the end of it. We got an email from them middle of last month, actually, that was like, "Oh, just to let you know, this it's a satisfactory complaint." Closure, whatever, it's all been closed off. Despite it having been closed off, just be aware they can go to the financial ombudsman, and if in that case, we'll be back in touch with you. And I was like, oh, great, they've just laughed it off, and that's that. Or they've checked it out, and there wasn't anything wrong with it. But then Dan, my colleague, yesterday got a phone call and he's like, you dealing with first response at the moment? I was like, no, I'm not. So he took the call, and she's like, yeah, there's an out. He's been removed from the policy now, and so now I just need to discuss the outstanding balance. I was like, what outstanding?
No.
I went back and phoned them, so I phoned her back and spoke to her, and I was like, we got the call recording thing, so I was able to listen back. She was like, yeah, we've had to remove him, and now there's a balance to pay, and we just want to discuss how we're going to pay it, sort of thing. So I was like, are they going to even offer me the car or whatever? Phoned it back, and the long and short of it was, because our last email was like, there's nothing wrong with this car. That isn't an independent report. The thing that he sent us, which is a bit of paper handwritten on. This guy just seems to be, we're not interested in giving any money anymore. We've already given money. And especially seeing as, I don't know if I already said in this thing, at some point, he sent in another claim saying that the brakes needed doing, and he wanted another 300 quid via his mate. And we looked at it, and I was like, hang on. Haven't we, which brakes is he asking for? The front ones. I was like, where's that old receipt that we paid for? And it was the front brakes. So he was trying to charge us again for the same thing. And I'm like, what on earth is he playing at? Anyway, they're like, oh yeah, so we had to remove him. We had to take his car back because it was in the first 6 months. And the independent report said there was all these problems with it. And someone had obviously badly fitted an engine. So we sent it off to auction.
Obviously badly fitted an engine.
Yeah, we sent it off to auction. We got £2,000 back for the car, which we'd sold for £7,000, and we had to give him back his £2,800 deposit, which was his part exchange car, which leaves about.
They don't offer you the car back.
No, but I sort of said, well, you haven't even offered me the car back. This seems completely crazy. And she's like, oh yeah, but your last email was quite long, and you basically said you didn't want to help us with this. I was like, well, there's nothing to help you with. I don't understand what you're saying. But basically, yeah, they now want 3,860 odd quid or whatever out of me to cover the loss from what they've sent it to auction versus what we sold it for, without the option of looking at it. And I was like, but you closed it off a month ago, and you haven't sent me anything to where. She's like, yeah, we've got the independent report that says it's. I was like, where? You haven't sent me anything. Like, what are you talking about?
This is what I was going to question with you when I spoke to you next. Is when you do a finance deal, it's the finance company buys the vehicle from you, don't they? Not the customer.
Yeah. Basically, you invoice the finance.
So that car doesn't fall under the Consumer Rights Act. So how are they claiming under 6 months for the car not being fit for purpose in terms of getting the money back off you?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff in the contract.
The other thing is, haven't they got to get like an ACE report?
Well, that's what I thought they were going to get. But whether they have got one or not, I don't know. But the ACE report might have looked at it and said, oh yeah, the gearbox looks knackered. But if his mate has cut it to pieces, then it probably would do.
And if they had have done the report, they should have come back to you and said, look, what are you going to do? Are you going to buy it back? Are you going to fix it? Are you going to do this? It sounds ridiculous that they've just given him the money back for the car, which is annoying. I
think because we've gone back to them and said, look, we're not mucking around. We're not doing this. The guy's just seems to be making stuff up. He's tried to charge us twice for the same thing. We've looked at the car and there's nothing wrong with it. If you've got an independent report that says there is something, then we'll do it. So basically, we were just like, we're not getting, can't keep going back and forth with emails.
That's a simple one for me. The finance company didn't do their duty of care for you as a dealer getting the correct reports back and providing them to you. So I'd be straight into court with them. I'd be small claims
I have
against the
said to her,
finance company.
can you send over this report? Can you send over what it is you want from me and why it is? Because we'll be going to court. And she's like, oh, you're going to go the legal route, are you? I was like, well, what option have you given me? I said, I understand you're working for a big
Absolute
finance
moron.
company.
Sorry, that person's a moron to think anything other than that. It's
And how
just
much do they want
ridiculous.
from you?
3,860 odd quid.
Disgusting behaviour.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely disgusting behaviour. They haven't looked after you as a dealer whatsoever. They should have
Well, the
looked at
thing
all
is,
that
I think you've got
information.
this. I'm starting to realize, I'm starting to think, makes it tricky for me because I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore with this, the whole with the Porsche thing. We had a one with the Clio that just needed a battery for the gearbox, and that was the same company that's First Response. I thought they were all right with that one, to be fair. But Close Brothers completely screwed me with that Porsche.
Do you think the commissions that you guys get, because I don't get a lot out, I don't do a lot of finance, do you think the commissions weigh up against these returns you're getting?
No.
Well, then we might as well send people off to go and get finance from their banks or go and get finance independently and have nothing to do with it.
Well, the thing is, that this is what I think I'm starting to realize is like, I want to sell the kind of stuff that does attract people who want finance. I don't really want to go back to doing cheapies and things like that most people are doing cash for. There's just not the margins in it. It's just too much hard work. It's all right for you, James, on your own because you haven't got the overheads. But for like Dave and I, who've got the overheads and whatever, the small margins just do not work.
No.
But I don't want to be having these things where like 9 months, 12 months down the line, they're just like, we've made decisions on your behalf. And because we're the bigger company, you're getting fucked. And you're going to pay for
the opportunity to get the car back and get it retail ready again and get your money back out of it that way, are they?
If they had done that, that wouldn't have even been as painful, would it? Because I think they've kept 1,100 quid out of him, which was his finance payments he's made over the 9 months or whatever. But
they're a win-win because they're a win-win because they get the money out of you for the balance and they keep his. Do they deduct the finance that he's paid off of what you owe them, or do they just keep that?
I think so. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, you know what's happened? They've just like you. They got
sick of him.
They wanted him out of their lives.
Exactly.
They were like, oh my god, just give him the money back. He's doing
exactly. Yeah, he's pestered them and just driven them mad, and they've gone, oh, we can't be dealing with this. We haven't got time for it. Just give him his money back, and it'll make it the dealer's problem.
That's it.
And any balance that I didn't get back off the finance company, I'll be small claiming that geezer as well.
Yeah,
I can do that.
I'm going to have to phone logistics today. Yesterday, I was just like, I literally just. I said to her, like, I understand that you're just working for a big finance company. It's got nothing to do with you, but I'm furious. This is disgusting. I said, if I was to phone you up and all of a sudden said, I want £4,000 out of you, you'd be pretty upset and anxious about it, wouldn't you? I said, but I understand you just work for a company, but it's not. For me, it's my business. It's my money. You're basically just saying you owe us £4,000 without even letting me in the conversation about what was happening. Like, how could that ever be right?
You could have sold that car again. You would have happily had it back from us.
Have it back because we know there's nothing wrong with it.
That's what
I'm saying. They haven't done their due diligence as a or done their duty as a finance company to the dealer. Yeah, they've let you down completely. This is where logistics could pay for itself in one foul swoop, isn't it?
Yeah,
that ability to be able to ring them up and just say, right, this is a score. I mean, I've not had to do it myself yet. I've asked their advice a couple of times, but I think that is I use it for self-warranting as well now. Because you've got that feature in there as well, haven't you? And I'll be interested to see what they say about the scenario. I'll be interested to see what happens when you speak to them about it.
Yeah,
but no,
I think I had my camera there and I filmed it while I was talking to her because I was just like, I couldn't really believe it. So I'll have to, I'll probably make like a separate video out of this. I'll phone logistics later and, see what they say, but we shouldn't really have to deal with the stress of it. That's the.
Do you pay logistics that yearly fee?
Yeah.
You're going to have like 2 or 3 claims. So you pay, how much is it, Joe? How much do you pay? Is it
800 quid, I think?
Right.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So at least you've got that where you can just give it to them and leave it to them to sort out.
Well, the downside with that is the first time you speak to them and say, we got this case, like, do you want us to take that on? You're like, yes, please. And they're like, right, send us every bit of correspondence. So then you've got to go through all the emails and drag it all up, you've got to collate it all. There's so much admin involved with then going to court and sending it off. But what will happen is logistics will take it on, from my experience, and they'll probably speak with First Response and they'll try and come to some kind of agreement. They'll try and mediate it. That's what they always try and do first. But I don't feel like I should have to hand over any money whatsoever. But
take it as a challenge.
What's that? Sorry.
Take it as a challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
It's
you can
not.
learn from it.
It's one of those things. It's a minor inconvenience, then you leave it and it goes off, and that's that. It will get sorted, but it's just, yeah, I can't believe.
You know, when you said yesterday you felt like giving up, when these things happen, you do actually feel at the time, you think, why am I doing this?
Right, car dealers, lend me your ear for a minute. Or whether you're a motorhome dealer or a boat dealer or anything like that, and you're having trouble with your payment provider, whether that be your kind of credit card machine or trying to take payments via bank transfer. As we all know, it can be a pain in the bum. If you follow Chop's Garage on YouTube, he recently, maybe just within the last week, did a video on how his money just got held in limbo and it held up a whole car sale and it was just a complete nightmare. I might have a solution for you. Not too long ago, Anthony from Global Charge reached out to me and said they had a new system that used the customer's own banking security in order to get your payment. And it's perfect for car dealers. In short, you get your own portal online and you can type in there the customer's details, you type in how much money you want them to pay you and what it's for, and it will send the customer a message. They can open that, it takes them to a link, and it will take them through their own banking apps. They can use their normal kind of online banking security that they normally would, and they'll pay you directly. So the money comes to you instantly, which is amazing for cash flow. And they also know that they're using their own security and they're using their own banking app. Therefore, they know it's secure. I've got my portal here for Barrow Motors, and I'm just going to do myself a little £1 payment. So I'll put my email in, which, if you ever want to reach out to me, is joe@barrowmotors.co.uk. I put my mobile number in, which Toby is going to blur out, so you don't give me random calls at like 2 in the morning, drunk. We're just going to make it £1. We can select our purpose of payment. We have got a test option here. Payment, deposit of vehicle, and other. Let's do a test. It will ask you for the registration of the car as well, so I can't think of one. I'm going to put in Duncan, my plumber's van. That says transaction link generated. Now I should get a text message. There we are, look. It says Barrow Motors on my phone. Now I can open that link and then you can choose your banking provider, go to your banking app, and you will make your payments. The other great thing about that is that I've got my own phone and Jason's got the work phone here. So as soon as one of the payments go through, we each get a text message. So Jason doesn't have to come and ask me whether we've actually received the money, because he'll instantly get a notification that money's in the bank, deal's done, customer can take the car, all sorted. There we are. We'll blur out everyone else, but Joe Betty has initiated a bank transfer for £1 I have paid myself. Really handy. So whether you're in the car trade already and you rely solely on doing bank transfers, whether you've got a card machine you're not particularly happy with, or whether you're starting out in this and you want to be able to offer a more professional payment solution, then check out Global Charge. We will have put the QR link on the screen for this entire thing, and you'll be able to find the link in the description as well. Highly recommend it. It has made things really streamlined and customers have been really impressed with it. Highly recommended.
I've had a week of it as well. I've had a bit of a week of it, and you come and you think, flipping heck. And it's all this nitpicky stuff. The law needs clarification because these people can nitpick you to death, 1,000 cuts, can't they, on these daft little things about cars, which a lot of them are like this chap, just an opinion. When he goes and actually checks with the garage, I've had a clutch this week, and I've had my garage checking and go, no, clutch is fine. I've driven it. Clutch is fine. Chap, I've never had a problem with clutches, but it kangaroos. And it's the same I-20 I drove all the way down from the Midlands when I was with you guys. But they can just bombard you and carry on and carry on and carry on, can't they? And then they can pull stunts like that with the finance company. Luckily, this isn't on finance. But they just ring you up and say there's something wrong with the car. It's but you just to open a checkbook and pay without even looking at the car yourself.
And how much time does it take out of your life as well? When a customer comes and goes, oh, this clutch, there's something wrong with it, and there's nothing wrong with it. And you end up taking it to a garage, going here, going there, and you've wasted 2 hours of your day.
Yeah.
When you could be doing something else. That's what really annoys me.
The reality is it boils down to buyer's remorse. I've decided for whatever reason, this car isn't the perfect car I thought it was. The one owner, 20,000 mile, every panel mint car that I thought I was potentially buying. And they just get a bit of buyer's remorse and they lose confidence in the vehicle that can still get them everywhere day in, day out, no problems at all without any issue. And they just want to bail and they just look for every angle they can and just bombard you until they get the result they want, don't they?
Yeah. We had one yesterday that sort of made, I was just like racking my brain. Baffled me, but we'd sold a 2014 Vauxhall Mocha. The woman came back in. Originally, she thought the sat nav wasn't working as it should do. It wasn't like showing it on the right place on the map. We updated it. We bought a new card and updated it and whatever, and it was all working fine. She came in yesterday all upset because she's like, well, I got on the motorway and it was all full of traffic and it hadn't diverted me. And what's the point? I had to go back to using my phone. I'm like, I don't think that system's got like live updates. She's like, well, yeah, it comes up with traffic. I was like, yeah, on the radio maybe, and it might do like satellite updates from like National Highways Agency or something, but it's not like live like your Google phone and all that sort of stuff, Google Maps and whatever, and Waze. They give you the. I've got to go back to using my phone. She's like, we've checked 2014 Vauxhall, whatever. It doesn't have live traffic updates to divert you and whatever. I'm afraid that's just she's like, oh, what's the bloody point of it then? It's like,
this is why you need to get bigger, so then you can have a complaints department.
yeah, just get.
And then
Well, I always thought
that
was the genius of these companies that deliver the cars, isn't it? They drop the car off and deliver it, because at the end of the day, I bet they'd get when you've got a place that's easy to pull up outside, drop by and say, "Oh, can you have a look at XYZ?" You're going to get people coming back all the time if they're fairly local. Whereas these delivery companies, that to me was genius, because at the end of the day, you put a load of hard-faced people on telephone lines and say you've got to ring people up, and they're like, no, sorry, that's the way it is, end of. And where are they going to turn up and kick off and that kind of thing? It's absolutely done. I had a girl turn up. This is a brilliant story. Rang me yesterday. I've been driving my car along. It's a 2012 Kia Rio, which was like a 3495, something like that. And I've done a couple of things already on it, and I've had it for about 2 months now. Driving, so I was driving along, there was just a really big noise on the back. Now the bumper's detached and the number plate's coming off. And I'm like, really? Yeah. What were you doing? I'm perfectly straight road. I was just driving along a perfectly straight road. So she pulls up out. I said, well, if you want to pop by, I'll have a look, which I shouldn't have really. Pops by the bloody like the top half of the bumper, the silver bit, and then the black bit the number plate's on. Obviously, that black bit clips into the silver bit of the bumper. It's pushed out in this direction outwards. So something's gone from behind the bumper and unclipped it all the way along. The screw for the number plate is actually bent around and popped out, like one of those big yellow ones with a plastic thread on it. And I said, you've got to hit something from behind for it to have pushed the bumper out. Oh, no, I was just going along perfect. And there was this big bang. And I'm going, that doesn't happen on its own. Anyway, I'd still spent 20 minutes clipping it back in and putting a screw in. But to think that you can still pop round for this, I mean, it's just boggles the mind, doesn't it, really? It boggles the mind.
The thing is, if you do it, then she'll be back again.
No, but then you get grief for being hard faced because you turn around. Well, it's not my problem, but in reality, it's not your problem, is it? So you're damned if you do, and damned if you don't, aren't you?
No, you're right. It's been firm but fair. That's what I always say.
I guess the thing says, I'm not a mechanic. I wouldn't know how to fix that. I'm afraid it's clearly been damaged. You need to take it to your garage. I guess that's the way to do it, really.
Yeah. Definitely.
We used to try and help everyone with everything, but now it's a case of we don't do workshop stuff anymore. So because we get it with, do we have a guy who bought a car off us 2 years ago, and he phoned up and he's like, oh, I've got an engine management light come on. He's like, the engine management light's come on again. I'm like, okay, which car was it? Whatever. And apparently he'd had an engine. I think we put an O2 sensor of it in it within the first couple of months. He bought it 2 years ago. And he's like, yeah, you have a look at it. It's like, oh, well, we're not doing mechanical work anymore. It's like, well, you won't even look after people who bought cars from you, and it's the same problem coming back. So it's not the same problem. It's 2 years later. Hasn't been on.
This is what does my nutting. What expectation is there? What kind of margin do you want someone to have in a car if you want to be responsible for it 2 years after the sale? People whinge about part exchange prices when there's like, what, 1,500, £2,000 margin in a cheaper car, maybe £3,000 another, which you lose half it between VAT and prep and everything else and advertising. You might net £1,000 out of it. And 2 years later, they want you to be responsible for the same car when a simple fix can cost £300-400 these days. What kind of margin do they want? I was thinking about this on the way in, actually, when we were going to have this discussion. Sorry if I'm going off route a bit. But I was thinking about the cars that because obviously I do older cars new. The cars I'll be selling in another 5 years' time are going to start to have like radar in the front of them, and they're going to have LED headlights, and they're still going to be £4 or £5 cars. But any one of those things could literally completely wipe out a profit. So the part exchange prices are going to have to be dramatically lower than they are now, aren't they? I mean, you're not going to be able to, if you've got something now that's just a 4-cylinder non-turbo with standard headlights and no adaptive cruise control and lane assist and all these things,
Yeah.
you can work off the smaller margins. But if we get to a point where in another 5 years' time, I'm selling stuff at $4,000 with that kind of kit on it, it could literally, what's a set of Kia LED headlights now? It's something like $3,000 for a pair or something, isn't it?
God knows.
You're not going to be able to give the kind of part exchange prices. You're going to have much larger margins than them. Part exchange prices are going to be stupidly low, or the market's going to literally just disappear. You're not going to be able to do cheap end cars at all. It's
Yeah.
terrifying how much kit there is on them.
A customer bought a car on Saturday, he bought a Kodiak, and he was looking at the warranty, our warranty book, and they all say 3,000 miles. Sorry, 3 months or 30,000 miles. Sorry,
3,000 miles, yeah.
3,000 miles, whichever one comes sooner, and
Mm.
the claims limit's 1,500 quid. So he's like, oh, that's great. So every time something goes wrong with the car, I've got up to 1,500 quid limit on the car. So I'm like, well, flipping, how much margin do you think we've got in the car? So say,
Yeah.
every time something goes wrong, we're going to fix it. Like, that's not going to happen with 3 months.
Yeah.
If the clutch breaks, yeah, we'll fix that. But customers do think in these days that everything's covered. They think that they want you to baby them. That's what I think.
This is the biggest problem I find with warranties. You mentioned warranty, and I've had people comment this on my videos. The assumption is that a warranty covers everything on a car. And then when I say on my old stuff, it doesn't cover everything, you go, well, it's a worthless warranty then, isn't it? Well, it's not if I'm going to cover you the clutch, the gearbox, the drive shafts, the body control unit. But if I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to cover the sat nav, I'm not going to cover the adaptive cruise control, I'm not going to cover your electric window switches, that warranty still has value because a body control unit is, could be $1,000 to do, couldn't it? But this trouble with the public perception of a warranty is that it covers absolutely. It's almost like I'd rather me say it's a 1 month warranty that covers absolutely everything than say it's a 6 month warranty that just covers the engine and gearbox. It's really sort of weird mentality about it. And then you get comments going, but it doesn't matter the age of the mileage or the price of the vehicle. Is warranty a warranty? Well, it can't be, can it? If you sell something that's 4 years old, 5 years old, the warranty can't cover the same as a car that's 12 years old with 100,000 miles on it. It doesn't make sense that it is going to cover things. And the trouble with it is if the law doesn't really start to sort of clarify this, I mean, the example I'm just talking about when I start to sell cars that are 12 years old with adaptive cruise control and all that kind of stuff, and you're going to have to list the cars without those features and literally say that you're just selling a vehicle, and because obviously you can't be done if you don't list those features, can you? You're going to have to really get those warranties pinned down and saying we're only covering engine, gearbox, and things that stops the vehicle from driving. The trouble is the law is just too grey, isn't it? It's just too
and
open
then
to
when you get
interpretation.
a customer like what Joe's got, because no car is perfect, and then they can find fault in anything. And then, like you say, the warranty companies, they just crumble at the minute. All the warranty companies crumble and seem to go with the customer all the
Do
time.
you warranty yourself or do you do third-party warranties?
We warrant them ourselves, so
Yeah.
3 months or 3,000 miles. And then, once that 3 months is up, then, you don't want to see that customer again. But we had a Mini, after 8 months, the engine buggered
Yeah, I
up.
remember, yeah.
And we've had to put a new engine in the car for him. So, like you were saying there, but it's not all the time. If you look at the law of averages, out of selling, I don't know, 200 odd cars a year, it might happen 2 or 3 times. So sometimes you've just got to expect that to happen every now and again.
Yeah, I think I probably do bring it a bit on myself with my warranty claims on my older stuff because I mean, what would you warranty a car that was like 100,000 miles and 12 years old? What would you still do
1
3 months,
month.
3,000 miles?
I'd
1
say,
month.
look, 1 month and it covers the engine, the gearbox, starter, motor, alternator, and that is it. It's nothing.
Yeah, as long as you can get in and get to work without that's
That's
it
Major
covered. That's what I'm
mechanical
covering.
parts is what we always say.
Yeah.
But not that we ever sell cheap stuff, but that's the other issue is convincing anyone the difference between a warranty and your consumer rights, because that's the same thing you're saying with air. Like people saying, "Oh, you get people who's like, well, it's got to come with 3 months or up to 6 months of warranty legally." It's like it doesn't. And then if you explain, well, the warranty will cover this and that, and it will cover like the things that might, you're going to want to work, like your radio and whatever, but they're not really covered by your consumer rights. So you got a month of any electrical gremlins coming up, or 3 months is what we do. Then after that, and it's like, well, you've got to cover it for 6 months. We haven't. There's a difference between consumer rights, which says Your
Yeah.
vehicle's still got to be fit for purpose, and we're going to say the purpose is getting you in it safely, driving you to work and driving you back again. If it means that your radio's stopped working or one of the windows has stopped going up 6 months down the line, you can't just raise a fault and say, "Oh yeah, this car needs rejecting now because it's been the first 6 months,"
Yeah.
because that's not
That's
to
yeah, because they
fit for
say warranty
purpose.
they say it, don't they? Warranties have no value because I've got my consumer rights. It's like, no, the warranty will
It's
cover
above and beyond.
faults. Yeah, because it'll cover faults that you can prove didn't exist at point of sale, but you're
That's it.
saying I
That
will
point
still
of
fix
sale.
them. Yeah, it's it at point of sale. So if you can prove something, let's for example that the brake, the ABS sensor light wasn't on when the car went out, and then in 3 months' time the ABS sensor comes on, and you're saying you're going to replace it under the consumer rights, they wouldn't have a right to have that replaced. The warranty is going over and above and saying we'll
This
actually
is
still replace stuff that becomes a fault later on.
this is what I'm noticing with the finance companies now is I think I've said it in videos before, because they say to you, because it's come up within the first 6 months, they have a right to reject under the consumer rights. So I was like, no, they don't. You're lying to me. And I think you know the rules here. If that fault was present or developing at the time of sale, they might have a right to reject. But and she's, oh yeah, but without the absence of proof that those faults weren't there, then it is your responsibility to prove it. I said, don't worry, because we have got it. It flew through an MOT. We had a PDI. We just serviced it and done a full mechanical report on it, and those problems weren't there. And then they've done 5 months of carefree driving with no faults appearing. I don't think you can really say that whatever it was in that particular case, that it's probably this thing, that the fault was developing at the time. If suddenly an engine management light pops up and it's a O2 sensor or something.
Yeah, I mean they can say that to the finance company, but the finance company can't then apply that law to you because they're not a consumer.
Mm.
So I don't quite
This
know
is
how
why we
that
need
works.
logistics, isn't it?
And also, there's 30,000 parts in the car. So,
Yeah.
it's
This is what shocks the hell out of me as well, though, isn't it? I mean, we're talking about it being pre-existing fault. So you can sell your BMW Mini, for example, or let's take a EcoBoost. Ford have said they know there's a problem and they're going to warranty it for this period of time. It's got service history in the belt. You put the car on finance, and sorry, under the Consumer Rights Act, if the engine has a problem at 5 months, it's assumed it existed at point of sale. But we know the manufacturer had a manufacturing default. So why is it not the manufacturer that's getting hammered
exactly.
rather than the dealer? How can they just walk away from it? Oh, I have 3-year warranty is expired. Yeah, but you've got a known fault with your product. It's all over the place as a known fault with your product. How is it the dealer picks up the bill?
Like, really, all them EcoBoosts should have been recalled, and they all should have had new engines put in them.
I think they're
Yeah,
doing
well, new
something. They're
belt
doing some
is.
kind of recall now, aren't they? If the servicing is up to date, they will do something, I think.
But how many dealers have had to
Yeah,
refund
swallow it in the
finance or put
meantime.
engines in or put belts in between for something that the manufacturer is saying is a known fault at point of sale because we put the wrong type of belt in it? So it's madness, isn't it? There should be what we should do is start like a group thing. What do you call those group legal cases where all the
Yeah,
dealers get
like
together and head forward for all the ones they had to pay out on?
class action or something.
Class action, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Lawsuit, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it
Anyway,
just
we've gone off whinging about whatever.
Now we're on the
right.
well,
What
on
were we going
that
to be
sort.
talking about?
Well, my
Oh,
week is a little bit. I'm not worse. Well, I've had a car pinched.
Oh no.
Yeah, car stolen.
What, as in off the forecourt or stolen in a clever way via finance and payment?
No, at an MOT station. So we use a mechanic in Sheffield. He like works from home, and he prepped the car and everything. Then he took it to his MOT station, left it there on the Friday. Chap said, "Yeah, come back Monday. We'll have it MOT'd and whatnot." Went back the Monday to pick it up. He said everything at the MOT station had gone. All the cars that were there sat outside. Went into the MOT station. The mechanics were there. All them tools had been stolen. Everything had just gone. It'd been ransacked. And the chap that owned the MOT station, nobody could get hold of him.
Oh,
So turns out that he owed some money to some dodgy people. They've come round his house, and we're just assuming he's just given
grabbed him, walked him over there.
and they've took everything.
Bloody hell.
It was a VW Sirocco, and we bought it for £5,000, and I've spent £600 on paint, and I'd spent about £600 on prep.
No.
mechanics.
This is the other thing people don't work. You know, they talk about dealers having too big a margin in cars. They, you know, they don't allow for all these other things that have to be factored in. You know, you got to now eat that across a number of other cars, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't know whether your insurance will pay out if the keys were there, and I don't know whose insurance
Yeah,
you'd
I
be
don't
claiming on.
know. I rang the insurance man. He said, "Oh, don't worry, this happens all the time. You should get the money back." But
Right.
I don't know. I hope so.
You won't get the prep money back, though, will
No,
you?
no, that's it. So apparently, I'll get the £5,000 back, hopefully. But the 1,200 quid, that's gone.
Did it come
So
from
Yeah.
auction as well?
it did, yeah. I think
You
that,
won't-
yeah,
didn't you get the fees or not?
yeah. I think you get the fees, yeah,
Okay, because that's like the total cost, I guess.
yeah, and I think you get the delivery money as well.
Okay.
Right.
That's in with your auction fees, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Whatever's on that
So,
Yeah,
invoice, probably.
because you think about it, we drop cars off left, right, and centre to people to have work done. You just never know, do you? You drop cars off to get keys done. You got cars to get mechanical done, paint done, all kinds of stuff, and you're really at the mercy. You know, you're dropping 5-10 grand off these people, and a lot of the time you don't really know them that well at all, do you? You don't know what could happen.
no wonder you know this job can really stress you out. You've got to think of all the warranty stuff. Your cars could get pinched. There's so much stuff that could
You
be.
can see why guys just go, right, sod it, I'm going trade only. I'm just going to go and source cars at a good margin and just stick
Yeah.
500 quid on each one and just try and fill a yard full of 100 cars and go, that's it, trade only, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's
definitely.
funny, sorry, I got a comments or get comments sometimes. You talk about like stuff on the forecourt and how many cars and going up in value, and people being like, I couldn't sleep at night if I knew I had all that like sat on a forecourt and whatever. And I guess we're just used to it. We don't think about it. When you think about it, if you have got whatever it is, 250,000 to 500,000 quid's worth of cars sat on a forecourt, that if someone was really determined to, they could come and wipe out probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't even need something like that. I went on holiday for like 3 weeks, come back, and a load of my cars had dropped by anywhere between 200 and 400 quid a car.
Yeah. What you mean in value?
Yeah, in value, because obviously some people had I think it was a quiet month a couple of months ago, when everybody started knocking prices down to try and shift stock, which I don't agree with, because if people aren't buying cars, they aren't buying cars. So you start to check things. You check one car, it's down like £400, another one's down 250. And when you're talking about cars that are only 5-6 grand in the first place, you know,
Yeah, we had some drop by £1,000 overnight.
you can walk in and you've already down 8 grand before you started the day. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
easily done, isn't it?
It's like when you reduce all your cars. If you looked at all the cars that you reduced on a Monday, you're basically giving away like, I don't know, 4 grand maybe. If you've reduced
Yeah.
that many cars, there's 4 grand just gone. But you've got to not think like that. You've just got to think, well, the next car that I get, and I think you've just got to keep the money moving, haven't you? That's the main
Yeah,
thing.
you have got to keep it. You
Yeah.
have got to keep the money
Yeah,
moving. I mean,
go on.
I'm not very good at losing money on cars. I know people that have got the mindset of just get it gone. I'm going to take a hit on it. I'm going to put the cash in the bank. I'm a bugger for that. I can't do that. I will literally sit on a car, because you know what it's like. Sometimes someone just turns. I mean, they don't walk onto my forecourt. I don't have a forecourt, but somebody just turn up. And I imagine they walk onto your place, and a car you've just been really struggling to sell is just exactly what somebody wants. And you don't have to take as big a hit on it as you thought you did. I won't sell a car at a loss retail, because I'm still going to have the warranty coming back later on. There's no point doing that, is there? There's still the potential comeback from it. So I don't tend to sell a car at loss retail either.
Yeah, I know. I understand that theory, but I have done it, or I think I have done it just because it's all a gamble, isn't it? Really. So even when you sell a car at full up retail, when you've got a nice margin in it, something still could wipe out all that margin and cost you. If you've got a car that's stuck forever and you've got, maybe yours aren't so much, but say we've got something 15 grand that it owes you. If you can get 14 back and you've had it for 9 months, you just think, it's time to get on with it. You might take a risk that something comes back, but you just got to keep your fingers crossed that for that 3-6 months, it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have got the risk. It's not as far from a perfect situation.
I look at the 80-20 rule. 80% of your cars over the year, you're going to make money, and 20% you're going to lose on. So if you in your head you say, I'm not going to lose on any car, then you're just going to have cars forever, and then you're going to end up losing more money by keeping hold of them for too long. Where if you just think in your head, take a small loss, put it into something else, and just keep it moving. So 20% of your cars you are going to lose money on, I think. Or cover your costs, a little loss on them.
I am like you though, James. I'm the same, and that's why there's like, there has been, and I'm trying to whittle it down, a farm full of cars out there because I'm just like, oh, we'll fix that because that could be $5 grand. But as it is, with no steering rack, it's like $1 grand, and I'll lose money. So I keep them, but then like you say, then they're sat there, and then the value goes down as well. You've missed your opportunity to sell them at a higher rate, even as a non-runner or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then you have whatever. But I'm the same because if I buy a car and I drive it myself for a while, like I've got that really high mileage BMW I'm driving around at the minute. I think I paid like $5 or $6 for it maybe a couple of years ago, and I was like, this is properly cheap for what it is. And then, but if I hold on to something for a while, I still expect to make money out of it. You get that mindset because I don't really keep. And you're like, well, no, I've had 2 years use out of the same as our Navara that we bought for transporting. We've probably put like 70,000 miles on it. I'm like, I don't want to lose money on it. But you're gonna have to if that's becoming. That's like the getting into the
My
world.
daughter was trying to explain this to me on holiday. She's here today with me actually. She's trying to explain to me this holiday, trying to explain a handbag, saying it didn't matter how much it is, it's how much you use it. It becomes free if you use it enough. I'm like, how does that work? Because you still spent the money on it. She's like, no. Because if I use it like 200 times and it costs me £100, it's become basically free at that
Cost per
point.
use is really low.
Yeah, and I'm like, how does that work? Because the money's still gone out your bank account. But yeah, the trouble that is probably the biggest curse of this game, isn't it? Looking at that's why my personal stuff is either so cheap I can throw it away, or it's classic because it doesn't devalue. You can just leave it sitting there. The idea of having something that it's the idea of picking any piece of my stock and driving it and putting another 10, 20,000 miles on and selling it at the end at a bit of a loss just kills me. I can't deal with the concept of that at all.
So James, would you like to get more? Because you put cars on Auto Trader like individually, don't you?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Would you like to put like have a proper package on Auto Trader?
I did the maths of it. And I'd be paying more per month to Auto Trader for the package than I do putting them on individually. Because I thought I got to a point where it makes sense to get a package, but then I did the maths on how much I was paying for the adverts at £40 a pop. It actually made more sense to carry on doing what I'm doing. The only reason I do it is a friend of mine's done it recently, and he reckons since he's done it, he's getting more response from Auto Trader. So I don't know if their algorithm gives you a bit of a benefit from having a package, whether it makes you appear better in results or not, and something like that. And also, I guess I'd get pricing because I send Joe cars and stuff like that. I don't have any access to trade pricing at all. I literally just look at what We Buy Any Car is and what retail is, and I think, oh well, if there's like 3K margin in it, I might be able to sell it to another dealer and actually get some money out of it myself and give them. But then they go, oh, no, cap is X amount. I'm like, Jesus, that's a lot less than the difference between retail and between Auto Trader. So that would probably be the other bit because does Auto Trader give you a cap valuation, or is it that basically what it is?
I think it works on cap good, not cap clean.
Right, okay.
So that's one of the advantages of having Auto Trader is for your part exchanges, you can get them at a really good price. So you say, customer looks, I don't know, say they've got like this mocker, what Joe's on about, it might be, I don't know, £3,000 on Auto Trader trade value. But if you went on cap, it might be like 3,700 clean. So I always think it's like in the middle between cap. Do you think that's right, Joe?
I think it's completely different. I think the point of what you pay a lot extra for with Auto Trader is their like data, because
how long a car takes to sell, and how popular it is, that kind of thing.
Because do you know what I think now? I would say the last 6 to 9 months, cap and Auto Trader prices have been completely detached. They've been completely adrift. But now on a few things I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, this will be great because cap will say it's really cheap on like a Range Rover or something, but Auto Trader say it's worth loads. But actually now they're like, I don't know if that's because everything's slowing down a little bit, but they're coming into line a little bit again now. So I feel like I'm not able to nick as many bargains as I thought I could.
That used to be the way to do it, wouldn't it? Go and you go on BSay and you go, it says the retail is £5,000, and you go on Auto Trader. Auto Trader says no, actually current retail is like £6,000. So everyone's bidding based on a £5,000 retail. You're bidding based on a £6,000 retail. That's how you get the car. But I don't know. I mean, I've bought from auction for a long time. But no, I basically with everything, I really don't like paying subscription service stuff. I think my total overheads are probably less than £2,000. I'd say a month is my fixed.
That's amazing.
overheads is less than £2,000. So if I run things that way, lean and mean, with just me here, if I do need to shift some cars, a bit of a loss or a small margin, I can do. But I don't like committing to. I think it's from my corporate days. You were told never to commit to anything. You always did like do things on a monthly basis so you can get in and out of it if you need to. I mean, even my internet's like what, 30 quid on a SIM card, and that runs my phone and my internet. Do you know what I mean? From a SIM card in a desk phone. So I always do things on a
It
bit of a
is, I
shoestring
think,
budget
yeah,
type way.
your setup and mine and Dave's setup or Outlook or whatever is like different, isn't it? Yours is like frugal and the least you spend, whatever. Whereas I think me and Dave have got the attitude like we want to be better, we want to be bringing in more turnover, therefore more profit, and that requires more expense. So you do build this because my overheads must be 25, 30 grand a month. Never mind 2 grand.
That's why I think
new job. I was the same as James in the beginning, and then I just don't think you can keep it that frugal as you go along.
I couldn't because I couldn't do everything myself anymore.
Yeah.
Hats off to you, James, for doing all the valeting,
Yeah.
all the phone calls, all the viewings and test drives and all that sort of stuff, and then the sales and all the paperwork, and then doing YouTube, and then doing all your admin and whatever. I just
don't get me wrong. I'm very clear that will hamper. It would hamper growth of the business. If I was, I mean, you guys are younger than me, but if I was sort of like looking to grow the business, I'm doing it completely the wrong way. But I've got to that age now where, to be honest, I would have gone hell for leather before, but now that kind of work-life balance and simplicity. I mean, I've had corporate jobs where I had tons of staff and I had reports and paperwork and admin coming at me and had my ass sat at a desk all the time. And one of the reasons for starting up was to get away from that. And sort of my retirement plan is to have the same place, but it just be like all classics and pop in and just do a few now and then. But I think the way I'm going, if I stay like this, it's more in keeping for me actually to become a trade centre, because I haven't got the plush office for you to sit in and do your financing. I haven't got the tarmac or stone chips viewing area outside, all that kind of stuff. So in order to take a step forward, that's what I need to move to next. But I don't actually have a desire to move to that next. So if I want to do more volume, then it actually makes sense to sort of go the trade route, because if that kind of stuff doesn't matter, then does it at all?
where you are though, Dave's about to say the same thing. Where you are, you could sell whatever you want.
Gosh, that's exactly what I was going to say. If you've got the right car, it doesn't matter if you're trading it from a backstreet garage. Like, say we had this Audi A7, so many cars we sell with people not even coming to our premises. They just ring up Zoot or ring up Car Finance 24/7, and they don't even see us. They just get it delivered to their house. And
I hate that. I hate that. Well, you've got that whole delivery, like they've built up in their mind this thing is going to be like a brand new car, and then it gets delivered and they pick holes in it, and then you've got to pay for the transport to get the car back again. I hate that side of things.
You know what? I've never had to do that. No, I tell a lie. We've done it once in this last year with a little Peugeot 388, something to do with the wet belt. He reckoned the wet belt was knackered. So we went, oh, look, we'll just give you the money back. That's the only time it's happened.
Oh, I've just had, I don't like it. What's that coming up?
Oh,
all right.
This is me. Hang on. I wanted to.
I knew you were going to do this.
I wanted to say, because I've probably talked about it a million times. I want to go and see. Rory at RS.
Yeah.
Right. So he sells. Let's have a look at his.
Just 2 seconds, just to make sure my daughter's still working. I don't want her to be slacking. Brooke, are you there? What are you up to? Oh, you still? I thought you finished them. It's all right. I thought you finished. You're still going around. Just give me a shout when you're done. Yeah. She hasn't finished yet. We're all good.
So this is this is, you've had him on the podcast before, haven't you?
Yeah,
Rory. He started off with a car wash.
Inspirational.
And this is the sort of stuff he sells. It's all, if it's not like a supercar or a sports car or whatever, then it's like the top of the range, kitted out, tricked out example of everything. And it's all.
I do admire the people with these businesses. It is cool. It must be fun going to work every day with that stuff. I know there's probably still stresses, but
this is what I want to work for.
IA10.
This is what I'm now starting to think that I almost could do with having a smaller business, but
Have you seen
this sort of
Cubic
stuff.
Cars on TikTok?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's got
a nice setup,
he's got
and
a
he got a
lovely
nice
showroom,
setup
and
with that unit and everything.
yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely
Well,
gorgeous.
his setup though, he looks like he could probably about 10 cars maximum, and that would stress me out. If I spent a lot of money on, because those units aren't cheap either, just like a big warehouse type thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, he might have 10 grand in a car, but I still feel like that's really hard to turn them over.
He's
Whereas
invested like 40
Corey,
just on his customer waiting area, I'd say, isn't he? Just all that paneling and pool
yeah.
tables and sofas and shit like that.
Um,
I'm allowed to swear on this podcast, I don't know.
yeah, fuck it.
But I think what Rory's doing, this is,
So
this
we
is.
are, look, £250,000 cars. And let's just have a quick look on Google Maps. Where is it? It's this one here.
I was interested in the photo then as well, because that would stress me out. I had the lines on the floor underneath the car on a £5,000 car, let alone $250,000. I'd be like, I've got to find a spot where there's no shrubbery in the background.
Well, I
and
think
there's
they go
no...
into like a gym car park or something and just take the pictures there.
Jesus.
But this is it. So it's like the back of a factory, the canal behind it. This is, I guess, is all of his cars and whatever. But I think that's like their valeting shed. I think they've probably got, maybe they've got a nice little office in there. I haven't really seen. I'm hoping I'll get in touch with them at some point and go and visit and just kind of check it out, because, they must have millions and millions of pounds worth of stock. But this is where they're not on a fancy like trade, the glass fronted, whatever.
Yeah.
Just as a, just to get your head out of,
Yeah,
you can't do
you've
it
got
from
to
where you
change
are.
your
Your
mindset
place,
then.
if I had your place, you've got all that space around the back and all around the front. I'd have that ram-packed and get those 6 cars you've got in there out, put a bit of glass across that blue bit where you are there, nice fancy office with 1 or 2 cars that you can stick in there. Like, the sky's the limit where you are,
But that's the thing is, right, I'm funny about that as well. I'm like, right, my prep cars, I've got to get them all inside. So they're all, but then obviously you guys, all your cars are outside. So when someone comes to view a car, do you like pull it out and clean it beforehand, or do they just view it with the
No.
rainwater or whatever's on it already?
Depends
But
what it is.
in the summer, it's not too bad. Like, we don't actually mind people looking at cars in front of the showroom. But then in the winter, it does help having indoor space. We will pull the cars in the showroom. But at this time of year, it's great. Like, people just are not bothered at all. I think it's more, as long as you've got good pictures online, you can sell any car you want.
Yeah, no, it's true. I've thought about that, moving less stuff out of here and actually having the more interesting stuff in here rather than the retail stock, having the Firebird and the MGB, MX-5 MGB and all that kind of stuff, like polished up and parked up in here, and make it more interesting environment than having the cars sort of wedged side by side in here like I have got at the moment. Which, I mean, I don't know if you've seen data. It's kind of like they're all wedged in.
I mean, that suits what you're doing right now, because it feels like a trade car type thing, but if you did, you probably don't want to go into like higher end stuff with riskier, bigger margins and whatever. But, I'd love to have, to be honest, I'd love to have your units and the space that you've got, because that would solve my issues of not having enough space or whatever, because you've got a brilliant big thing and you've got the unit next door as well. So I'd have,
that's full of, I've got to clean that up. That's full of my. The trouble is, I like to work on cars as well. That's where I create a lot of mess, where I actually do sand and stuff like that. But that's what outside looks like at the moment. I don't know if you can see that on camera.
Oh my God!
yeah, look how much space he's got, Dave. But not just that. Do you know what? I'm going to pull up space on the thing as well.
The space around the back is mine. I could
40 cars at least. I would have 40 cars out there at least.
The space you're going to show behind isn't technically mine. That's part of the building behind. But the landlord's just taken that on himself and isn't using the car park. So I could do a deal to rent that, and that's all nicely tarmac with like parking spaces all in it. I'll show Dave out I'll show out the back.
What's your postcode?
I've got to get EX32 0RP. So this isn't being used at the moment out here.
Oh my God!
See that? That isn't being used out there at the moment. I could do a deal to rent if I wanted to, but I'd have to take staff on to fill it all. You keep all the cars clean and tidy and all that, wouldn't I?
I see where you're coming from, though. At the same time, I envy you, because it's just you on your own,
Yeah.
But at the same time, what I like about having my own business is having the camaraderie of going to work and being with, you know, James the salesman, Wayne the valeter, and, you know, two heads are better than one, you know, when you're sharing a problem together.
Yeah,
And
even
Trouble is,
just down to
trouble is,
could you grab that phone? I cannot take another call at the minute. Do you know what I mean? That's what I've said to James before. I was just like, I couldn't do what you do. I couldn't work on my own. I just, like, yeah, I'd just be
you know why
depressed.
I'm so happy working on my own? You give me this place on my own for the day and give me something to some paintwork to do or some wheels to refurb. I don't want to see someone the entire day. It's really weird because my background is all sales as well, and all I've ever done is sales.
yeah,
And I'm the grumpiest bastard when it comes to people. It's really weird that you get into these environments. Like maybe that helps. I don't know. But no, I'm more
Don't get
happy
me
as a
wrong. I
Larry.
love my own company. Come to the evening, and my missus utters a word. I'm just like, shut up. I don't want to hear anything. Just let me relax and whatever. You know, I'm not
Well,
chatty like that at all. But when it comes to work, that's kind of like, because I am like, I'm not obsessed with work, but I'm obviously like mentally deranged that I have to work all the time. That,
yeah.
like Dave says, that's like my bit of social interaction and whatever. And I like, yeah, that you can kind of all rely on each other.
Yeah, I
And
have people here working on like set rates for the day, and I'm stressed. It stresses me out really badly. I'm like, why aren't you getting on with that? Why haven't you done, you know, what you? And then they don't do things quite the way I want them done. It's probably my problem more than it is anybody else. But yeah, I mean,
you're
like
a
you
control
and now,
freak, then basically.
how you not like you've got like 5 or 6 staff at your place. I mean, they could just be
Well, this is
pissing each other
something
on the wall, couldn't they?
what I'm hoping is you two will be up for doing this like regularly, and we can have like a topic like the next time. Obviously, we've all had loads of stuff to talk about, but another time we can be like talking about hiring staff, because there is, like Dave's talked about on his podcast, there is like that massive hurdle of hiring staff. But once you hire one, you realize they pay for themselves and more. And then you do the next one, you're like, okay, that's brought us even more work in, and everything's run smoother. And then you realize I can't afford not to employ people. It's there's that first person you hire full time is terrifying.
It is.
I'd like a
That's
full
why
time
I would say
valeter.
take James, take someone on part time, a valeter, stroke driver, stroke
That's
whatever.
exactly what I need. That is actually exactly what I need because I could get so many more cars prepped quicker. Like today, everything's on hold because I'm doing this. I've got to do a set of wheels for a Sportage. I've got to
Yeah,
repaint a set. So I've got a Ford Focus outside that needs a machine polish. If that could be up for sale today, and I've got a cash car, it just needs a quick hoover out because it's that clean. They could both be up for sale today, but they won't be for sale for the next 2 or 3 days. A lot of those cars won't be for sale for another 2 weeks because I'm doing a lot of myself. So that would probably be beneficial. But it's finding the right person. It's like your chap. You could see your video
I'm
the
going to
other
put your
day.
email address on the screen now for this. If people want that job, because people will be
well,
falling over themselves for it, speak to James.
so we done a video last week, and I've actually put an advert on Indeed for a car buyer because
Yeah.
I don't really like buying. I do like buying cars. Don't get me wrong, but I had this like crazy idea that if I could just find somebody who could search for cars on like Auto Trade, you know, private cars for sale,
Private car stuff. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, private car stuff, and he could, you know, source them, and I'll give him like £100 a car, and I put an advert on Indeed, and I've had loads of people getting in touch, and then
Yeah.
James on the video, last week's video, someone rang about the job, and James mentioned it, and then somebody seen it from the YouTube channel, and he rang us up yesterday, and he's like, "Look, please, can I come and work for you?" He's like, I watch your videos. I love everything about you. And basically what I'm trying to say is these are the people you want working for you who are
Yeah.
passionate,
Yeah.
That's the thing.
The only
know
thing
what
Finding
you're
is,
someone who's
about.
enthusiastic
Yeah,
and,
that's
yeah,
it.
well, that's
passionate
what I was
about
going to
it.
say about your
So,
video on the garage next door.
yeah,
The garage next door not getting your car prepped. It was interesting to see for me how your was it Wayne, your valeter,
brain, yeah.
like how sort of like into your business he is, even though he's an employee. He's like proper like he was he
He's
was
not
he
an
was
employee. He's
it was
part of the
emotional because he
family.
cared. He
Yeah,
was
that's
emotional because
it.
he actually gave a shit. That's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah,
He was
I
getting
got
like quite
that
full
with
on, but that's only because he gave a shit.
yeah.
Anne, who works for me and has been when I started doing car sales, he's worked for me since day one, and he's kind of done a bit of this, he's done a bit of that. Maybe that's worked out okay. This hasn't that, but he's still there. I pay him well, and you know, he doesn't handle stress that well. But I knew that if I'm away for a week, he steps up and he's great. But he's exactly the same. He'll be there getting stressed out and like, oh, they're charging too much for this, and someone's phoning up about warranty, and they shouldn't really be asking for that, and that's not technically covered and whatever. And I'm like, chill out. It's my money that we're having to spend. Just get it done, stress off everyone and whatever. And he gets really uppity about, like, he feels like he has to defend me and whatever. And, which is really nice. You wouldn't expect that from people who work for you. It's just,
It's a lovely feeling that you've got them on your side. You
yeah.
know,
Bear with me 1 second. Apparently, someone's outside looking at cars. 2 seconds.
Well, I
I
can't
don't
sell
feel
another
coming
car
home.
while you're on a podcast with me.
I know. Are we looking too good, right?
but yeah, going back to this chap as well, who's applied for this car
Buying job, yeah.
buying job. And he said to me about, look, I know I could do this from home. He said, but could I do it at your office? And I can help you drive cars to the MOT station. I just want to be there. He said, I just want to be amongst it.
Yeah.
Like, this is music to my ears.
Yeah,
This is like me when I first worked in Magaluf, and my main aim was to get a job at BCM, this like massive nightclub. And I remember I went to the boss there and I was like, look, I will do anything. I'll do the lights. I'll make cups of coffee for people, and then I ended up the main DJ. These are the people you want,
Yeah.
and James will, because he's on YouTube and everything, everyone knows what he's about. He will get that person. Not a problem.
100%. Yeah, I get the same as well. Even if I've put out an advert, well, just even on Facebook, but I need to do one on Indeed for like a driver/valeter. I don't really know who's gonna do what, but just from people seeing that our driver, he's handed in his notice and he's gone now. People just saying, "Oh, is he going to be down a driver?" But I could do that. I got my HGV license. I watch all the time. I could do it. They already know all about the business anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, it's a mind blowing, really. But yeah, like you say, that's exactly the type of people you want. I think it'd revolutionize James. He's making plenty of money. The way when we've talked, his profits are good. They're probably better than ours because his overheads are so low. But just that first step, I think it would just revolutionize having a valeter. And I couldn't imagine like having to go out and scrub out every bit of the wheels and whatever, ready for someone to come. I know I can imagine it because I've done it, but just sweating your bollocks off.
Like, when you take...
And then, oh Christ, that car wasn't as clean as I thought it was. And you can't just say, Mark, get that clean. You got to click, and then they turn at me like, right, yeah, here's the car. Yeah, it's lovely,
It's so true. Because I take pictures of the cars, and like, if one comes in, Part X yesterday came in, and he did need just a little Hoover, and I thought, oh God, maybe I could just Hoover that now. And I was like, oh Wayne, can you just Hoover this for me? And
Yeah, I would do it. I get stuck in. People see in my videos, I get stuck in, but then I am a bit like, I wish I hadn't. But because you think, oh, I get started, you're all enthusiastic, and you're like, God, I forgot how hard this is.
But you know what, Joe, right? How do you get it then, right? This is right. How would you get it? So you've got James, right? It's £2 a month. And then we've got me and you, it's like 25 grand a month. How do we get ours down? Because I've been thinking about it. I'm like, should I cut the Auto Trader package? Should I go like put stuff on Car Gurus? I'm trading a lot of cars out, so I'm thinking, do I need 40 cars advertised on Auto Trader? And then it's like, yeah, but it has me up at night thinking how to save money.
I'm doing the same thing at the minute. I guess it's probably because when you're busy and you're flat out and you don't think too much about it. And actually looking at, when I was up seeing you the other day, I was looking at the accounts. Well, the accountants have like looked through mine now, and they're looking like much healthier. So I don't really necessarily have to desperately think about cutting costs, but I still resent. I think I'm kind of like the opposite of James. I'll sign up for things and think, I think that will bring benefit. And then maybe later down the line, like, am I actually getting benefit? So things like I've gone through, I'm really going to knock eBay Motors on the head because it's 1,200 quid. Well, it's £1,000 plus VAT a month.
I would not pay 1,200 quid to eBay Motors.
No.
I would cut that off now.
The simplest thing for me was I just went on emails and typed in eBay or typed in Motors and coming up with the emails, and we might get one a day or one every other day or something like that. And you think £1,000 a month for 30 emails that don't probably materialize into sales, it's obviously not worth it. So I'm going to knock that on the head. But if that's £1,000, I'm going to spend 500 quid on Facebook and Instagram promotion and stuff. So you just do a little video like, here's our car, whatever, you could do it, David, lovely car company, blah, 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 walk around the car and just put 25 quid on it, promote it for a few weeks. And I've done that before. And I think you have to do it as like a routine thing.
Yeah.
Keep going. You can't just like put 50 quid on one and expect it to sell the car. It doesn't really work like that. It's a bit like compound interest, I think. But yeah, so we're gonna do a bit of that, but getting rid of our AA car subscription as well. And yeah, I was doing exactly the same thing, just going through and this is the other thing with obviously our driver has just handed in his notice. I got 2 recovery trucks. One of them I've sent to auction. One I'm going to keep for now, but I could just sell that off as well and go back down to having a trailer for transporting stuff about as and when, if I really need to in an emergency situation. But the rest of the time, just pay for delivery because, I don't know, you pay someone a couple of grand a month or more to drive, then all the fuel, then the maintenance on the vehicle.
Yeah.
Rather than paying 250 quid to deliver one car, it's cheaper. You know, it might only cost you 150 quid to go and get that car from up your way, you know, up north somewhere and back again. But if they're not doing that every single day, then it probably doesn't pay. So I'm very much like trying to trim the fat, you know, literally and metaphorically when it comes to the business. And try and run a bit leaner. But I think you've got it good. I think maybe any subscriptions and stuff like that. But I'm amazed with, you know, Wayne getting on top of everything, because I feel like we need another valet, but maybe just like a young lad who can kind of just, you know, help out.
I have actually got 2 valets.
Oh,
so
have you?
Yeah, I do have a chap who comes in on a Saturday.
Okay.
He's a detailer and he does an amazing job. So Wayne will go, like, Wayne's the best valeter in the world, but he's got that much to do. He can't detail them all.
Yeah.
Craig comes in on a Saturday and he details the cars and he just finishes them off so they look really nice. So that might be a thought, to get someone like that.
Yeah. Again, we do get offered that. We'll probably both be inundated with people once this goes out, you know, because the hardcore people who will watch the podcast rather than just the channels are the ones that, you know, like you say, are really keen and whatever. But yeah, it's in fact, I had a chap come in the other day. He's a really nice bloke. He was interested in the valet type driver job. But I was like, what are you doing now and how much are you making and whatever? And he, you know, he's a 50-year-old bloke, I think. He looked like he's, you know, well capable and up for it. But he's on, I don't know, like 30-odd grand. And it's just like, can't pay that for that, you know.
You just can't, can you?
Money's not there, unfortunately. You'd be great for the job, but I couldn't, even if you said, oh, do you know what, I'll take less because I really enjoy the channel and I'd love to be part, I couldn't do it. It's not,
See, this is the other thing, what in my head I'm like, you want to go bigger so you can employ more people. Like it's the only way to employ more people, isn't it? Or it's like my mates at Club Class. I think they've got like 60 cars now, but they've just upped the value of the stock. You know,
that's what I'm thinking I want to do now. Because I'm thinking with all the times I've had problems with the finance companies, and I'm starting to think, do you know what? I don't know if I can do this anymore because I'll have to deal with finance companies because of the types of cars I want to sell. I don't really want to sell like James does, sticking to 5 grand. And I just do not want to go back to that because the problems you get and the customers you get. But then the problems that I've had with the finance companies have been like Porsche Boxster, where he financed a 20-year-old sports car through Close Brothers. And God knows why they financed it, really. And I should have thought to myself, the type of person who's buying a 20-year-old Porsche should probably be someone who has the money and it's like a weekend thing and they're going to look after it. And it's not something they're relying on and paying 500 quid a month towards, because clearly that's not realistic for them. And the other one was this first-time driver who had the Clio, and that was all right in the end. We just bought it back out of convenience. And this other one being this Grand C-Max, where he's just been, out comes the keys. Again, it's just I should have dealt with like first response and those like subprime lenders and customers.
Yeah.
If I try and sell nicer stuff, my salesman, Jason, will get stuff in that's like, what did he buy in? Bought back from a customer. It's like Fiat 500 baby blue pop. So it's like base spec.
Yeah.
It's on low mileage, but it's like we bought it in for a couple of grand. He's like, it's probably out like 4 out, so it's still got a couple of grand in and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but it's under 5 grand, and we're trying to stay above that. He'd want to sell it because he can, you know, knows it'll sell quickly and whatever. But I'm just like, if that customer then phones me up 3, 5, whatever months down the line with problems on it, I just think I wish I hadn't sold that.
Yeah.
I wish I traded it on and made 500 quid and just got rid of it and had the profit with no work and hassle and whatever.
Yeah. But they give me a little buzz, them little ones.
They are great, yeah. But then I'll get Sophie to sell them from here, and it's still like through the business, but it's not physically at the site, because what you don't want is someone turning up to buy a 25 grand Range Rover, and then you got someone screaming about their 2,500 quid
Yeah.
Corsa that they bought. It's just it's like
You've got to stick to
as
one
arrogant
thing,
as it sounds, you don't want them to mix.
Yeah. The comparison is the thief of joy, and the worst thing with our job is we compare ourselves to loads of other traders. You know, you spoke to Jamie from Car Key the other day, and I thought, do you know what, that's the way to go. Just, you know, German stuff between 7 and 15 grand, it's always going to sell all day long, you know. And then you do that, and then next thing you get loads of warranty bollocks. Then you're like, oh, maybe we should go more and you chop and change, don't you? And that's what you've got to not do. You've got to like just stick to one thing. Like, for example, Rory. Like, Rory has done exactly the same cars. I know he's got like better stock now, but it's always been on that same sort of vibe, hasn't it? The black Mercs, the black BMs, the black whatever. So that's another thing in my head. I'm like, just stick to black cars, black, grey, white. You know, it's
my theory when it comes to buying is just anything that I think is interesting, looks smart. I don't want to. I mean, I will buy, but you don't say if you're going to buy like a Mercedes in like an A-Class or something, you want it to be at least the AMG line, you know, so it looks the bollocks and whatever. Or if you're going to buy a BMW, it needs to be an M Sport or an M. It's not always the case of what we do, but if you're going to buy one that's just like an SE spec, well, I wouldn't want an SE spec, but if we've got like say like 5 Series in stock, it still needs to have like leather interior at least, and nice wheels, and then low mileage. It needs to have some of these factors that make it just
desirable.
Yeah, you just don't want general traffic. It's just, I mean, car supermarkets will do great with them, because my theory is people turn up and they're like, I want a 4-door saloon, you know, not black and whatever. And they'll be like, oh, we've got this blue 5 Series whatever over here, and they'll be like, oh, well, I like that actually. And that's how they get sold. But with us, it's people searching them out.
Exactly. And that's what I do. That's all the supermarket stuff. If I get it cheap enough, I just trade it on to car supermarkets. It's cheap enough at the auction, because I know I'll be sat on it forever. So that's the way forward, definitely. So what do you want to go up to, like, price wise then? What's your aim? You're thinking more like go up in price rather than up in numbers of stock?
Yeah. You might have to unmute you now, James, or you might have to unmute yourself.
That's all right.
Yeah. I don't know about, I'm in like literally in like early stages of thinking like I want to do more YouTube and podcasts and things like that, which means that I don't have as much time to, you know, I want to be free to be like, today I'm going to go up and see Dave and we're going to film a video and whatever, and it's going to be a whole day and it's not really going to affect everything. But obviously I still want it all running efficiently. But I feel like if we had, I think we can have like 35 cars realistically on our place. But then we've got a lot, and then the space gets taken up with cars that are like waiting to get worked on and whatever. But if we've got nicer stock that's maybe like 10 to 25 grand, and you have 30 of them, and we're on top of everything, you know, it should be a lot easier to be prepped in advance, bigger margins, and hopefully everything runs a bit smoother. But
so you've got no, after seeing Jamie, you've got no desire to go up to like 300 cars then?
I did originally, but you know what? I think I've got my sister who does the bookkeeping now, and she's working with the accountant. They both used to work together at Debenhams, and they're kind of getting on top of it because I get a bit frustrated. I need to have, you know, we listen to that James Sinclair who's always about his management accounts, and I'll look at those. But because we use like one bit of thingy for doing our workshop stuff when we did used to do it, or we still do now, got QuickBooks for invoicing some stuff, and then we now use Dealer Kit, which is like our dealer management system, which is brilliant, by the way. I'll try and speak to them and see if we can get you a deal or something. There's 3 different things. Then it all needs to go into QuickBooks to give me my end of month accounts, and sometimes I look at it and like, I'm minus £9,000. I'm like, is that everything in? They're like, oh yeah, that's everything in. I'm like, fucking hell, like, how can that be? You know, how can we? And I'm just thinking, fucking hell, I need to start letting people go and cutting back and thinking about really what I'm doing. And then, like, if a couple of weeks down the line, they're like, oh, we corrected some things or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're into a £9,000 profit, and you're like,
it's so
you
true.
know.
What
And it's
you've
like
got
so up and down. I'm like, oh God, despair. Then I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. Actually, we're on the right track. One minute I'm thinking I need to fire everyone off because we're losing money and I can't keep doing this forever. And the next minute we're like, oh no, actually we made a really good profit. So
yeah.
as we're getting on top of that, then
You do it all from the first day, don't you, the month, when you work out your profits? Is that what they do?
what's that? Sorry.
You work out on like the first day of the month, or the last day of the month. That's when they work out.
Yeah. So, but
You can look at your zero sometimes on the 15th, and you're like, it's minus 20 grand. You know.
yeah. Well, I mean, my plan is to have like my management accounts, so like the monthly accounts done a couple of weeks into the next month, so that by the middle of the next month, I can look back and be like, right, last month we did okay, but not that great. And then I can kind of literally look through everything that was like workshop expenses, staff expenses, you know, window tinters, whatever it is, and be like, we spent a lot on that. That's why. Or the margins on those cars weren't very high. So we need some bigger margin cars going through, and just keep on top of it, because until you've got that, I just don't think you can know what you're going to do. But part of me would love to have something like Jamie's got, like 300 cars. Part of me then thinks, unless you're very good at managing people and have an amazing like management team who you're confident can be like you're running it all, and you just, I mean, it seems like he's obviously got good people around him, but he's still very much in it, and I would find that too stressful, I think, in reality.
Same.
I don't need to do it. I don't know. It's
Right.
like, why would you?
Yeah. I think he lives and breathes it, doesn't he? He wakes up at 6 in the morning and he's into it straight away. Where me, I like to go to work at 9, finish at 4, 5, 6, and then I can switch off. I
Yeah.
think if I had 300 cars, I'd never be able to switch off.
No. I've always wanted to do that, go bigger and better and whatever. But I think I still get the same sort of satisfaction out of having. I think there's something in me that needs to be like growing or improving. So better quality stock, doing it better, and then maybe I can be proud like doing better social media stuff of the cars and promoting them and whatever. So I just think at the moment, that's having looked at the accounts now of what we're doing, the months where, you know, we've done best is where we've sold cars with real big margins. Like one of them had 7,800 quid in, and another one, the accountant's like, oh yeah, these figures do seem right, but they do seem high for that month because you had a car that had £7,800 profit in, and another one that had £5,700 profit in. Just like, is that right? It's like, yeah, they're Range Rover Sports. They're probably going to kill me eventually, but yes, those are right. And then you look and you're like, oh, okay, then we're making money.
Yeah.
So
2 or 3 of them a month, and that's what helps you.
exactly.
So going back to that's why you do need them cars with them big mark. You've got the things that scare you the most. They're the ones you've got to take the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I do a lot of I do let, like, I've got an automatic cash guy just come in on a 2017 with,
That, can I just say that is very risky. Very risky.
yeah, it's had a gearbox already. It's got 40,000 miles on it. It's already had a gearbox, which is, again, going back to my earlier point, how can Nissan send these cars out with gearboxes that fail within 30k and customers are having to put boxes in them? It's madness,
Is
isn't
that the CVT thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 grand.
And it's like, I think the retail on it's like 13 and a half. And I just thought, should I trade that out? But it's a bloody cash car with an automatic gearbox. It's going to sell, isn't it?
If it's had the gearbox replaced, I would sell that, because you will sell that. That will.
Yeah, I know. I tend to get like a mind block over 10 grand. I kind of like just bail on anything over 10 grand.
Do you know what I want to do? I'm always thinking about things we can do for a video. I'd like to do a video where we go to auction and we buy each other a car that we think the other person should sell. So for James, I don't know what I'd get for Dave, but for James, certainly I'd get you like, I don't know, a BMW M3 or something, and you've got to take it down to Devon, and you've got to clean it up, and you've got to sell it down there to prove a point, probably how quickly you sell it. And you could give me some like £3,000 Kia, whatever, and at the end of it, I wouldn't want it because I think I'd get warranty issues and difficult customers. And at the
Yeah.
end of it, we could say, oh, do you know, actually, that sold quite well and the margin wasn't too bad. And you might say, actually, I enjoyed having that. And
Yeah, it changed your mindset completely, James.
I got offered an M3, didn't I, last week, and I didn't take it. And it was a Minter with low miles, and I was like, I sold it on to another trader. I didn't make any money on it either. I just put the two in touch with each other. It's like I'm running scared from that big
the
time.
way,
But
go on, sorry.
I was going to say at the end of the day, I guess it was fairly low risk because it was mint and it was, but I just don't know those cars. And I think I also get in my head that if you don't, if you turn up my lot and I haven't got similar types of cars, that my odds of selling it are going to be quite low because it's not sort of
Yeah, I
fitting in.
mean, to a degree, if you're going to have, if you had your cars and then you had an M3, I don't think it would be the easiest sell. But if you had a few, yeah, you do need to have a bit of confidence that you sell that type of stuff regularly, but that'd be quite easy to do.
There's soap in the kitchen there. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you could eat. I think just the experience of selling more expensive stuff like that, you'd soon. But what I was going to say was, my theory is that I think when I think about like selling Range Rovers and stuff, and I got one sat out here that's waiting for some work done. If I can, no, it's risky when I'm buying it. But if I know that I got 5 or 6 grand gross profit in it, well, worst case scenario, you've got to stick an engine in it, spend 3.5 grand, then you're still in profit. And even if you wipe your nose and you're like, right, well, on to the next one, let's just keep taking the ones that do make a profit and get out of the ones that don't, then.
The only problem with the Land Rovers for me is you never get the customers out of your hair after. And it's not that the nightmare customers, they're not, it's just every month.
The hours, isn't it? It's the additional hours after, yeah, it's all the hours people don't allow for. People go to work and they go, yeah, I'm getting paid £20 an hour, whatever. You start to add up all the time you spend on an initial phone call with someone, and then they come and view it, and they might come back again, and then they come and pick the car up, and they're an hour picking it up, and then there's a problem with it, and they come back and they're here for an hour, and then you get that sorted, and they come back and pick up the car. You add all those hours up, they flip in. If you were doing an hourly rate, you'd be terrified as to what you're actually making.
But that's why if you've got someone who does that stuff for you, because that's easy for me to say, because I would just someone to phone up for, I don't sell the cars anymore, so someone phones up, they'll speak to Jason or Dan, and I'm like, well, they are the ones that have got to go through all the motions. They might come to me and be like, they're saying it needs, brakes. You have to pay for that, and I'll be like, yeah, okay, fine, pay for it, and then it's out of my mind again, and I'm on to whatever I'm doing.
You've got a garage as well, Joe. You've got mechanics for you, so that is. So when I get,
you can just say, get it in here, and let's get it sorted, and get them out. And that's it. Yeah.
With me, it's
what? That's the best thing I did is to move away from that. That's the best thing I did to me, because I used to have a unit with my mate was a mechanic, and I sold the cars out of there, and I had way more people coming back, way more, because we were in the town centre and we had the garage there. If they heard the slightest squeak or rattle, they'd be in every time. And
that's all right, because if you've got the right staff and you've got people there, it's easier again if you can say, oh, I don't know, and give it to the mechanic. For you, if it's you've got to justify what you're saying. Whereas my mechanics will go out and be like, well, that's a dust shield or something, and they'll bend it out and be like, that's it, don't worry about it. Or like, oh yeah, these cars do make that, because they're the experts. They'll be like, oh yeah, they some of them, those minis, they do make a as you do the steering or whatever it is. It's not you saying it then, it's them. And you're like, oh, they talked to you about it, have they? And they'll say, oh yeah, they said it was right. It's like, okay, great. And then that's that.
Yeah.
So it's not, if they were coming and talking to me and they're like, oh yeah, but I don't like that it goes as the window goes up or whatever, you're like,
none of these things are a problem if someone else has to deal with them, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
You've only got
delegation for you.
Deal with them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's doing the deals. In my head, the more cars you sell, the more bollocks you can put up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be like an average law of average type thing. Yeah.
And there are, like you were saying, I think, Dave, you get these little stints where you get 3 or 4 in a row, and then you forget the periods where you had nothing for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's very easy to let it get on top of you, isn't it? When it all happens at once for whatever reason.
Exactly. And for me, I'm preparing myself now because it's coming up as 6 weeks holidays, so it is going to be a bit quieter. Just prepare yourself for all the warranty bollocks. It's all going to come these next.
Because you're not got the sales, but you got the car still out there. Well, it's like that one there. That wasn't me selling the car, unfortunately. That's a guy who's got a Focus from me, and it's thrown an ABS. It's thrown a wheel speed sensor, and it's come up with loads of stuff on the dash. So he's dropped it down to have the guys look at that. But he's come up with a list of other things that he's concerned about. Like once or twice it started up, and he didn't think it idled quite nicely. And then when he was sitting in it with the car turned off, he heard some clicking behind the dashboard and the dials moved up and down. I'm like, but they've got actuators in there that are shutting off after you shut the car off. I said, and I've gone down, I plugged it in with my top down. I've done a video on it last night and it's 100% everything. There's nothing in it for misfires or anything like that. I've done the control module for the dashboard. I've checked that there's no fault codes in it for that at all. But because it's within the first 30 days and it's thrown this wheel speed sensor, theoretically, he can reject the vehicle because it's got a fault, can't he? So he's just, luckily, he's going to try some other cars out. But it's like, so that was 2 hours of my time yesterday. And now obviously we've got today as well. And we've got the initial part of it. It's, yeah, I say, perhaps I say I need someone else to deal with all that, Joe. Life would be a lot easier, wouldn't it?
And how much did he pay for that car?
5,795.
Right, okay. So if you do give him the money back, it's not end of the world, is it?
No. And he's a nice gent, and I think he's looking at other cars I've got, to be fair. Well, I might need to go out and see him in a second. He's just taking up my Mazda 2 to see what
That's
he thinks
right.
of that.
Yeah, well, we've been going on for ages anyway. We kind of I just want what's nightmares been going on in your world, James? Because we got Dave who's had a car nicked. I've had a car being rejected by finance, and I need something awful from you for the thumbnail.
So I pulled that lovely Barchetta out the corner that I've had there for ages, less than 10,000 miles, one owner from you. I started it a number of times, drove it in and out of here. I dropped it down to the garage to have it MOT because the sun's out now, and have a cam belt put on it because I don't think it's ever had a cam belt in its life. And the guys rang me yesterday and said, James, we've MOT'd it, it needs a bulb and something else. Brilliant. The only problem is we've gone to start it outside, and the engine's running rough as you like, and it's rattling really badly. I went, well, the belt hasn't broken on you, is it? And they've gone, no, the belt's okay. I said, where's the noise coming from the bottom? And I'm going, well, that's spun a shell then. That will have spun a shell. That's what those 1.8s do. So now, and it's taken them 4 weeks to MOT the car when I had it booked in on a specific date. Same sort of thing you're having, Dave. It's taken 4 weeks to do it, and now they're going to have to drop the bottom end off it to check the shells. And I know that they're just going to sit on that car forever and a day now. So we're into a load of mechanical work that potentially wasn't needed. I should have left it sat in the corner, just sold it as it was, project
Always
for
the
someone.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It
yeah,
happens to us all. This is
Yeah.
the good thing about doing this. It's not just it's all of us. We're all in the
Yeah,
same.
yeah. This is why I feel like this would be people will enjoy watching it, but also it'd be quite therapeutic. Because yesterday I was furious. I went home in an awful mood after being told they wanted $4,000 off me. But I thought, oh, at least I can talk to you guys tomorrow. Dave's had a
I have
car
to say
nick.
though, I was in a bad mood because of that. But the CLK raffle ended.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Mercedes CL raffle ended.
Yeah.
It didn't do as well, but I didn't think it would do because of the type of car it is. But so the charity I gave them £1,700, I think. So I went and messaged them about the money, and they didn't know I was doing it. And I said, can I have your bank details to transfer the money over to you? And she said, oh, I don't like to do that when I haven't met you. I said, it's no problem at all. So she gave me the details, and I said, right, £1,700. She went, what? I've had to sit down. We only ever get like 50 quid at a time. So we've just had to cancel our trip to Wales because it's a disabled team. It's special needs football team. We've had to cancel our trip to Wales because we didn't have the funds for it. Now we're going to be able to do that trip. And that was kind of like, you know what?
Wow, that's
Stop
awesome.
the boss. So he gives a shit. That felt good, that did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
well done, mate. That's brilliant. That.
Yeah.
Well done.
When's the next car going on?
Probably that. Did you see the Toyota MR2 out there when I was
Oh yeah, you did say
scanning
about
around?
that.
Yeah, that'll probably go up, or I might do something a bit more mainstream in between because I've done some sort of oddities. So maybe something that actually someone can use as their daily, like a I've got a Seat Ibiza that's been sitting a while here, but it's a brilliant little car. So I think that'd probably do quite well as someone's raffle car. So you've got to choose the next one to do it on. But
Perfect.
yeah,
Well,
I've
same
got a lot
time,
of work to do.
same time,
3
same
weeks
place
off
next week, then, lads, for our therapy
Yeah.
session.
for our rant.
See what else has
For our
happened.
rant. No one might watch it, but we might get it all off our chest.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I don't. Maybe they won't to start off with, but I think once they get used to us just waffling on about our daily rub, I think people will love it. To be honest.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, well, I'll put it on podcast as well, so you can listen back to it on your way to work, James. I know you got a bit of a commute.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see if we can get like
Banging
Rory or Jamie on as like a guest occasionally.
You know, we need to get on for the warranty stuff. It's Nick from Lovely Cars.
Oh
Down.
yeah. Well,
He's
you've
like,
got the connections, Dave, because of all your podcast history and whatever.
yeah.
It would just be
we'll do it.
interesting just to chew the fat and whatever. So
Yeah.
I mean, we could do next Thursday at 9 if you're up for it.
Yeah. Do you want to see
If we're on YouTube, everyone in the
comment
comment needs to bully you both into making sure you do it. James looks like he's like, I've just told you I work all on my own, and you want me to do this again?
Yeah, I've got.
If
I've
it
got
ever
to
makes
crack
any
on.
money, I'll split it with you. I promise.
Okay, thanks. That's a cast iron commitment we got there, Dave.
Brilliant.
It's on record. It's on paper. On the recording.
All right. Yeah,
All
you
right.
can edit what you like out of this, can't you?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
That won't be there.
Nice to meet
Anyway,
you both.
And
Yeah.
you.
Catch you later.
Yeah,
See you later.
later, lads.
Bye.
All right.